Hi, everybody. This is Tamara Kelly. Oh, sorry. Hi, everybody. This is Tamara Kelly, and we are live today on the Yarnspirations Facebook page to talk about the brand new Maker Minis. So, since we're live, if you'll give me just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh on my laptop and my phone here so I can make sure that I can follow along and see any of your questions as they come up live here. So, all right, I've got it up and running. I can see we're live, so we're all good. Once again, if you're just joining us, my name is Tamara Kelly and I am here live today on the Yarn Inspirations Facebook page because they have some brand new yarn, which means brand new patterns. So the yarn I'm showing off today is this fantastic pack of Bernat Maker Minis. Let me hold these up for you guys. This is, like I say, a brand new pack of yarns. This is Bernat Maker. The Bernat Maker you hopefully know and love, and if you don't, you should. It's a fantastic yarn, and now it comes in this multi-pack, which is perfect for things like amigurumis, lots of multicolored projects, anything where you want a whole bunch of colors and maybe you don't want to buy 10 whole skeins of yarn. This has got all these basic colors for you. This is really just so perfect. If you're somebody who's maybe made a couple of amigurumi kits, you're ready to start making more patterns. You don't want to buy a kit every time. You want to start making your own things. Again, this is just the perfect stuff. And if you haven't tried out Bernat Maker before, let me hold up one like skein here for you guys. You can see the texture on this. This is the smoothest. It's kind of hard to see in the red. Let me try and pull up the white. Red tries to flare a little bit in the camera, I know. But this has just the smoothest. The yellow wants to flare too. Bright colors today. But if I hold it against my hand, hopefully you can see it's incredibly smooth. This is not a fuzzy yarn. This is a smooth, slick yarn, perfect for stitch definition, perfect for amigurumi. So with all that said, let's go ahead and switch over to the hand camera and look at what we're making with this yarn today. So here we have a pattern you might have seen already out there a little bit because it's just so cute. It's the Bernat Henrietta Crochet Chicken. And you can see you can make 3 different versions. You can make it in white, brown, or yellow, basically. All of those colors are included in the Bernat Maker Minis kit, and you've got more than enough here to make 3 chickens. You can make all of those, and of course, a bunch of the other super cute patterns. Now that we've got a little closer here, you can see there's a jellyfish, there's a flower, there's the chicken, there's an orange, which make it, yellow or green. It's a lime, it's a lemon, it's a blueberry, whatever you want. And then, of course, there is this really adorable bee. And all of these patterns are free on yarnspirations.com. But today, let me set that aside here. We are looking at that chicken, Henrietta the chicken. So, like I say, this one you could use 3 different color sets. I grabbed these because I'm hoping these will show up the best for us to see the stitch definition today on camera. But you've got all of that information right there. This also calls for a USI 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, so that's what I'm using. This is one of the Twist and Locks by Susan Bates. Of course, you also need some stuffing. Anytime you're making an amigurumi, you can use your standard fiber fill, or when they're real small like this, you can also use a little bit of scrap yarn. So if you've got some leftover white yarn or brown yarn or yellow yarn laying around, that can also be a really fun use for those as well. So while I would love to make the entire chicken with you guys today for our Yarn Inspirations Lunch and Learn, we only have about half an hour. So I thought it would be fun to actually jump to page 2 here today and start in with the extra little bits. The body is a big solid piece of crochet. It has some shaping, but it's otherwise just crocheting around and around. So I thought it would be a good today to go over the comb, the wings and the tail, and the legs, the little fiddlier bits that might be a little bit trickier for you. So let's go ahead and jump on in on those. Now the comb, it says with color B. I'm pretty sure that's going to be our red. Yes, it is. That's our red color. So I'll set those aside. And here you have that beautiful red. And now that we're a little closer up and I'm not trying to hold it across the room here, you can see just how smooth that yarn is. So if you're somebody who's learning to crochet, I cannot recommend a better yarn than this because it's going to show you so much of your stitches. You're not going to have as much trouble as you would with a fuzzier yarn. Like I said, also perfect for amigurumi. So here we go. To make our comb with color B, we start with a chain of 8. So let's do that together here. I'll push that off to the side a little bit. Now, we know Let's think ahead just a little bit. We know we're making a piece that we're going to sew onto another piece. We're going to have to sew this little comb, the red comb on top of the chicken's head, to the chicken. So that means I'm going to think ahead, and I might leave a little bit longer tail here at the beginning before I make my slip knot, because I can use this tail to sew that comb onto the chicken. This way I don't have to cut an additional length of yarn to sew that piece on. And even if I don't use this piece to really sew it on with, I can use it to anchor down that end while I sew it on from the other end. So something to think about when you're making amigurumi pieces or anything where you know you're going to sew those things together later. So here we go. All right, I have my slip knot on my hook, and now I'm ready to chain 8. So let's go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there we have it right there. Now, this is another place where you can think a little bit about what we're making. This is an amigurumi piece. It's going to get sewn on. It's going to have its finished edges showing. It's not a blanket that we're going to put a finished edge around. So as I continue to make here our first row, our comb really is only one row, I'm going to work into the underneath humps of this chain. The reason I'm going to do that is that I have these 2 loops left along the edge, and it will give me a nicer finished edge to my piece. But that part's optional, and really you can work into whichever part of that chain you prefer. So now that I've got my chain of 8 made, we're ready for our first row. We're going to work 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then single crochet in each of the next 2 chains. Then we begin our repeat, which starts with the asterisk. So let's do this first part first. Single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So that means we skip the one closest, that last chain we made, and go to the next one, and single crochet in that one. And bring that a little bit closer for us here. There we go. So that's our first single crochet. And then we single crochet in each of the next 2 chains. So there's 1 and 2. There we go. Pull up a little bit more yarn. Remember, we want to keep the tension in our fingers, not have tension as we pull off of the yarn on the skein. There we go. So now we've got those first 3 single crochets made, and we go back to our instructions, and we know this is where we start with the asterisk. So this is our repeat. We slip stitch in the next chain, chain 4, and work a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 chains, slip stitch in the same chain, at last slip stitch, repeat from there twice more. It's a lot, and we'll take it piece by piece, but it's always important to read it through first. So let's start at the beginning. Slip stitch in the next chain. We find the next chain and make a slip stitch. Then we chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we work 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So again, we skip the one closest and go to the next one. There we go. Then we work 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 chains. There's 1 and there's 2. There we go. Now, I see a couple questions about the yarn. I'll answer those here as soon as we finish this row, since it is a 1-row piece here. So we single crocheted in those next 2 chains. Then it says slip stitch in that same chain as the last slip stitch. It says at. I'm pretty sure that's a typo. That's supposed to be as. So we just go right back in that same chain that we slip stitched in before and slip stitch in there again. Then repeat from the asterisk, twice more. I always have trouble saying that word. So we go right back to there and we do it again. Now, this is what we've crocheted into. So here you can see, look for our chain and our slip knot. This is the chains we're working into here. So we find the next one, slip stitch right in there, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet in the second chain from the hook. We skip that one closest to the hook, the last one we made. Single crochet in each of those next 2 chains. 1 and 2. There we are. You can get a view there of what we've done. And then we slip stitch back in that same stitch again. All right, so it said to repeat twice more. So we repeated it once now. We have one more to go. So let's find that row of chains there again. Excuse me. We've got 2 chains left, so we're going to go into the next one for a slip stitch here. And then we do that same series again. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip the chain closest to the hook. Go to the next one for a single crochet. Single crochet in each of those next 2 chains. We've done this a couple times now, right? There we go. That brings us right back down. We can slip stitch in that same stitch we slip stitched 2 before. Right there. And that is our 2 repeats. So if we go back to here, it says from there, we simply fasten off. So we are going to have sort of this comb if we lay it out like this. It might look a little crazy right now, right? Let's try it. Let's fasten it off together and see what we've got. Again, I'm going to leave a pretty good length, more than I normally would if I were just weaving in my ends, but I want to be able to use these ends to sew my comb on with. So I'll just go ahead and finish that off. And then if we hold it out, you can see we've got a little comb right there. So we can look at our chicken picture to sort of see how that's sewn on. And of course, there's much bigger pictures that you can see on the website. So that is the instructions right there for the comb for the top of the chicken, and that is made with the red. Now, I did see a couple questions come in about the yarn, and those are great questions. Let's stop and take a look at the yarn for a second before we move on to the next piece. This is a 5. Look at that right up close to the camera here. This is a 5 bulky weight yarn, and generally, the recommended hook and needle size is going to be 8mm. You'll notice we're using a 5.5mm, and that one is also recommended right here for amigurumi. This is pretty unusual. Normally, when you look at a yarn label, you're only going to see one of each of these, one for knitting and one for crochet. This one has a special one just for amigurumi, so you know that they're really, really focusing on what this yarn can do for amigurumi and make some really cute projects. There's 10 skeins in each of these bags. Each one is 50 grams, or more interestingly, I think for most of us, 61 yards in each skein, or 610 yards for the whole pack. It is a 75% cotton, 25% nylon yarn, and it feels really, really wonderful. It feels great to the hand, and the nylon helps make it really, really strong and helps keep it smooth. So if we look at it again here, a little closer, you can see just how smooth that is. It really does feel soft. It's always hard to translate that a little bit on screen, but it feels really, really lovely to the hand. Has a bit of stretch to it, not a lot, but a bit. It's pretty springy, and it's got just a little bit of filling essentially inside it. So it's basically a tube of yarn, and that's what gives us this really great bouncy look and feel. And of course, lots of fun patterns you can make with it. This is a washable yarn. That said, if you're making amigurumi, I would suggest you spot clean those or maybe wash those by hand. But for anything else, of course, you don't have to use these for amigurumi. You can make clothes, you can make, other home decor items, blankets, whatever you like. You can go ahead and wash it and tumble dry it. I'd go ahead and use that delicate setting for sure. Of course, do not bleach, iron, or dry clean. Generally good advice for most yarns. So that's a little bit more about the yarn we're using today to make this beautiful chicken. So we've got the comb made. Let's jump over to the wings and tail. And those are going to be the same color you're using for the body. And of course, that's the fun of it. Not only do they recommend 3 different colors for the bodies for Henrietta the chicken in this pattern, but of course you could make a blue chicken, a green chicken, a purple chicken, all kinds of chickens. I think this would be really fun come Easter time. You could do a lot of really fun, different, chicken patterns and all different colors and things for the family, and stuff them in the baskets, and I think that would be a whole lot of fun. So we finally found the end there of our yellow. Let me get the camera to focus. There we go. And now we can look at our wings and tail pattern. So this is kind of fun. The wings and the tail are the same pattern, so we make 3 of them instead of just 2. So again, you want to use your main body color to make those so that they all match. And let's go ahead and make one of those together. So this is going to be our color A, our main color, and we're going to start with a chain of 2. And again, this is something we're going to have to sew on, so it's a good tip to leave a little bit longer tail than you might otherwise leave on your crochet project. There we go. All right. Then we're going to start with that chain of 2. 1 and 2. All right. So now, again, always want to read all the way through that row so that we're prepared. You'll see an abbreviation there you might not be familiar with. It says PM. That means place marker. So that is where we need a stitch marker. So if you have stitch markers, they might look something like this. Some people like split rings stitch markers. I'm a big fan of this style, which sort of, that one's hard to see, but let me bring up a red one here. You can see it sort of looks like a plastic safety pin. If you don't happen to have stitch markers, you can absolutely grab some regular metal safety pins if you have those laying around. Paper clips can be a good substitute, even a scrap of contrasting yarn, just something to help you mark your stitch as you go. So I'm going to make sure I have some of these set aside here and ready to go as we make this first round for our wings and tail. Now, the stitch markers can also be handy later on once you've got the pieces made to help sort of clip them to your chicken as you sew them on and help hold them in place. So they are a good investment. If you are, continuing with crochet and you want to do some more crocheting, I do recommend them very much. So we've got our chain 2, we've got our stitch markers on standby. We're ready for our first round here. We're going to work 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook, place marker on that first stitch. Our total is 6. So as I look ahead, what I also notice here is that we're not doing like chain 1s or anything like that. This seems to be worked in sort of a spiral, which means even more important to keep that stitch marker in that first stitch. When you don't have the jog of joining, when you're working in a spiral, it's very easy to lose that first stitch and lose your stitch count. So even more important, and shows the value of reading ahead a little bit. So let's make those 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. That means that's their chain right next to our slip knot, right next to our knot. Go right in there for 1. And you can go ahead and mark this stitch now if you'd like. You can wait till the end, but I like to go ahead and put it in right away. That way I don't forget. And I just put the stitch marker right under those top 2 loops. And then it can hang out there until I'm ready to take it out. I will note, if you are a knitter or if you're going to buy stitch markers, make sure you get the kind for crochet that has an opening. The knit ones are a solid ring, and that will be trapped in your project, so you don't want that kind. So there's our first stitch, 2, 3, and you'll notice as I keep putting stitches, let me get centered again there. As I keep putting stitches in this stitch, it's going to force me into a circle. I'm going to keep going around the stitch. In this next one, I'm probably going to go ahead and move this to the other side on out of my way. We don't have to try and crochet over that end. We can use it to sew our piece on later. We actually don't want to crochet over it, but we can just let it hang out on the back. So let's see, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. I need 1 more. And there we go. 6 single crochets into that first stitch. We're not going to join. It doesn't say to join with a slip stitch. So that means our first round is done. And for our second round, we can see we go right into it. 2 single crochets in each single crochet around for a total of 12. So that means we jump right in there in that marked stitch for our first stitch of the round. We're not going to chain 1 or anything like that. But we do want to take the time to move that stitch marker up because now this is the first stitch of the round. So you can see how it looks like it just keeps going around and why having those stitch markers can be so important. So for this round, we're putting 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I've put 2 in that first one. There's 1, and then 2 in the second one. And then 1, and then 2 in the next one. We're just going to do that on around. Now, I just saw a question pop up. Can this be made with 4 medium weight yarn? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you've got some Red Heart Super Saver, that's another great choice with love. Really, any yarn that's, that you like to work with, you could make this pattern with. It's an amigurumi. It doesn't have to fit, it's not a sweater or something or a hat or a scarf. It doesn't have to be human sized. It can be whatever size it ends up being with the yarn that you're using. So just make sure you adjust the hook size to work with the yarn you're using. I think a lot of these patterns would be really fun in like a Bernat big or extra thick. Then you'd get great big chickens, and that would be, taking it a whole different direction. So many fun things you can do with amigurumi patterns for sure. So, all right, here we are. I've put, hopefully, 2 stitches in each stitch around. Let's count. Makes it easier with that stitch marker right there. We know right where to stop. That is very important, as I say, without that jog of the rounds. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we know that is the right number of stitches here for round 2. Now, there is only one more round here for these wings and tail, our third round. This one can look a little complicated if you're not used to following directions, but we just take it piece by piece, bit by bit. We look at the parentheses. We know everything in the parentheses we're going to do twice. We see twice there at the end. So we single crochet in the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the stitch after that, twice. So let's do that first. 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Oop, get centered there. That's going to be our first stitch again. We want to move our stitch marker up to the new first stitch of the round. There we are. So then 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So we had 1 in the first, 2 in the next. And then it says to do that again. 1 in the next stitch, 2 in the stitch after that. 1 and 2. There we go. And then we go back to our instructions. We finished that section. So we finished up to that period right there where it says twice. So we go to the next little bit here. 1 single crochet in the next single crochet. Okay, we'll do that now. Then we can come back to our instructions, and we see that is where we start with the asterisk. So this is going to be something we're going to repeat. So we'll start at the asterisk, work to here, and looks like do it once more. So when we look at these parentheses, these are indicating that all of that is done all in the next single crochet. So in the next single crochet, we're going to single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet again. So let's do that. All in that next single crochet, we single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet again, right back in that same stitch. There we go. Then go back to our instructions, slip stitch in the next single crochet, and then repeat it again. So we slip stitch in the next single crochet, and then we do our repeat. Our repeat is in the next stitch, we single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet again in that same stitch. Then we slip stitch in the next stitch. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. We go back to our instructions. We've repeated from the asterisk once more. So now we single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet all in the next stitch. Let's go ahead and do that before we move on. Go to the next stitch, single crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet again. We did that. Next it says 1 single crochet in the next single crochet, and then 2 single crochets in the last one, and then we're done. So we can look at our work and see we have 2 stitches left before our stitch marker, so we know we're in exactly the right spot. So we single crochet in the next one, and work 2 single crochets in the stitch after that. 1, 2. And because our stitch marker is right there, we know that that is our last single crochet of the round, and it just says fasten off. So at that point, we can go ahead and cut our yarn again. Let me find those scissors. And again, we're going to be sewing these on, so I'm going to leave a little bit longer tail. I'm a big, big fan of using those tails already attached rather than cutting a whole new length of yarn and having to deal with even more ends. Why double the number of ends you have for each piece? So at this point, you can go ahead and just finish it off like so. And now it is ready to be sewn on. So if we go back and look here at our picture, again, much bigger pictures that you'll find online on the pattern on yarnspirations.com than we have here on our piece of paper. But you can see we sew them one on each side and then just one right on the back there. So they're all the same pieces. So you'll want to turn it probably so the right side is facing the front of the chicken. And then, of course, this one is facing us on the back side of the chicken. So from the front of the chicken, you'd want here, and then on the back of the chicken. Let's pretend for a quick moment that this is a little chicken. It's actually a little lemon, but pretend this is a chicken. You would put this one this way for the tail feather, and then on the front, you would have them attached like that. And you can just use those ends to sew it right on as you go. So that is how you make the wings and tail. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's see. We've got just a few minutes left. Let's see if we can make one of these legs. Of course, you want to make two of them when you make your chicken, but they're going to be exactly the same. So let's see if we can whip up one of those with this orange color right here. So let me find that end. That one was nice and easy right there. There we go. So this one, again, another very small piece. That's the fun of these. Again, I'm going to leave a little bit longer tail than I might otherwise leave. Even though it's a little piece, I'd rather have some extra to weave in with and then trim that off. So if we come back to our instructions here, with color C, we're going to start with a chain of 7. Let me move that out of the way a little bit. Got my first slip knot a little tight there, so I like to loosen that up. Let me make that a little, make that again. Even now, sometimes I over tighten my slip knot and I have to redo it a little bit. There we go. And enough room to move in there. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. There we go. And then, very simple, again, another 1 row piece. We work 5 single crochets in the second chain from the hook and fasten off. So what does that look like? Sounds a little crazy, but let's do it together. We've got this strip of 7 single chains there. We're going to skip that one, go to the next one. And we're going to put 5 single crochets all in this one chain. So we go 1, 2, right back in that same one again, 3, 4, and 5. And that's it. Bring up those scissors again. Now this time, just speaking from experience, again, think ahead a little bit. We've got this end up here at the top of the leg. We know this is where, we're going to be attaching to our chicken, right? We know that's going to be, come on camera, there we go. We know that's the part that's going to attach to our chicken. This part is going to be down here at the foot. This is the foot. So let's not cut this one as long. Let's not use this one to weave our end in. Let's cut this one, or let's use it to weave it in, but not to sew it on with, I should say, excuse me. So to get that taken care of, what I would do is just pull up on that end and then find my yarn needle here. There we go. And then I would go ahead and weave in this end a little bit down here at the foot. I would just take this end right here, probably, how do I want to do this? Just look at it for a minute and decide. Probably go back into this stitch a little bit, just to pull that last stitch up here a little closer, and then I'd flip it over and weave this particular end in along the foot here. And you can close up that hole if you want to. Make it your own, make it look the way you want. I think I'd probably do that. Cinch that up a little bit just for the look I like a little better. You can go around a couple times. It's important, especially with a yarn like this, where you can't really split the yarn to secure it, to go back and forth a couple different directions. Don't weave it in only one direction, or that is how your ends will come out. If you can go a couple different directions, that will make it last a whole lot longer. So then you can just bury that end in there really well, trim that one off, and then use this end to sew it onto your chicken. So with that, I think we have, come to the end of what we can get done in a half hour here. Like I say, those were actually the trickiest bits of this chicken pattern. The camera, there we go. The rest of it is just this body and then adding the little details. They have safety eyes here, and then there's also a great illustration of how to do the satin stitch right here, which is what they've used for the beak. You don't have to make the beak as big as this illustration, though, if you look really closely. Again, it's a little easier to see online with the patterns. You can zoom in on the photos. You can see it's really only one or two sewn lines right there. So very, very simple. Don't let that intimidate you. You know, you don't have to be an embroidery expert to sew that on. It's literally just whoop, whoop, and then tuck in those ends, and you'll have a really cute beak on your Bernat Henrietta the chicken. So let's go ahead and come back to me so I can show you guys one more time what that yarn looks like. Where did it go? Here we are. Here we have it. This is the Bernat Maker Minis. And of course, you can use these to make Henrietta the chicken, all the other really cute patterns that they have across here. All of those are free on yarnspirations.com. And of course, I'm sure there's going to be lots of other really fun patterns coming out for these too. When you've got a kit like this and all this, this is just a fantastic, really great selection of colors. I mean, I can't think of hardly anything you couldn't make with this selection of colors for amigurumi. So really great. If you're somebody who's, just gotten into amigurumi, this is a perfect kit to pick up next. Keep giving it a try, keep crocheting, and before we know it, we'll have you making blankets and sweaters too. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you'll give Bernat Maker Minis a try, as well as Henrietta the chicken. And I have been Tamara Kelly from Moogly, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.